right. Good evening, viewers. We just want to welcome you once again for this wonderful program called RoundTable. We are talking about church and politics. I just want to appreciate you all for making time and be part of this wonderful program. The aim is to educate you, is to also bring balance between church and politics. Today we also adding a different view which has to do with more like leadership in this whole concept, because we believe that it is working together. And I just want to really take this moment and interact with you by just advising that on our comment, please tell us where you're joining us from. Tell us where you're watching us from. It's very necessary for us. And I will just go through my screen and really somehow interact with you. Yet again, I see Apostle Goro from Namibia right there online. We appreciate you, sir, and welcome. And I see it. Welcome. I just want to also welcome a few people here. Please, as I welcome you, just make sure you leave a comment on the comment section. Tell us where you're joining us from, because we believe that me and you, we have a beautiful thing going on. So let's do it that way. And we make this thing a beautiful, beautiful time, right? I see also Look Sharp. What a beautiful name, Look Sharp. If ever I get a child again, I would not mind to name my child Look Sharp. Thank you so much for coming through. I see Makhubela. See, you are here, sir. I see you in as well. I see you coming through. People as well. Tell them. I have a beautiful guest. I have a wonderful, powerful man, one of the devoted citizens. Before we can even go and really introduce to you our wonderful guest today, allow me to also you see a few books here that I would really want my viewers to go and look for, so that you empower yourself. From my space, we say study so you may show yourself approved. This is my book. I offered this one is my second edition. It's called The Art of Prayer. We believe that prayer is a powerful tool, or is a powerful thing God has ever given man, because it allows you to talk to spirituality and summon the visible things you have. So you must just inbox us, call our office if ever you would need this masterpiece. The devoted citizen, every South African needs to have this one, because you cannot be a devoted South African without a South African native unless you know how. So get this book. It's called Devoted Citizen. These two, they just personal. They are wonderful. They help me a lot. I would have believed that nobody's born great, but people are made to be great. So there's a book I would really recommend for you. If you feel like you want to be great, or rather you are interested in being great, you see there's a book that says What Makes the Great Great by Dennis P. Kimbrough, PhD candidate. He compiled things that really makes others great. So knowing from those would really assist you to become one. And this one is by John Maxwell, the leadership guru. And it says the 15 invaluable laws of growth. If you are not growing, you are dying. In that way, I'm trying to welcome you to our roundtable episode number 3. And this is our last one for this topic. And thank you for coming through. So I'm going to take you through to our guest. Of course, just like last week, we were supposed to have our prominent Letitia to come and cover this. And of course, due to, again, unforeseen circumstances, we could not have. I'm told also that our president is talking right away, and it's just that we could not postpone. We are seriously covering this because in just 2 days we will be voting. I hope this will assist you to make a right vote. Thank you so much for coming through, and we welcome you. This is Ngoveni, your host. Now, as you invite others, okay, our team probably assist us. I see they say the sound is not sharp. The sound is not sharp. Our team, please assist. You us. Okay. Just highlight there on the comment section, so at least we continue. You see. All right, I see somebody signaling. Please comment, just say the sound is fine, the same way you wrote that it's not okay. I just hope we are getting it right. Somebody must signal for me on the comments. On the comments, we are good. Okay, I see our MD commented to say it's good. All right, thank you, welcome back. We just had to fix that. I don't know what you have missed, but I'll just continue because of time. And while they are still fixing the sound of my guest, let me do this. The book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 1, it speaks of no one is in a position of authority, not unless God has put them in the position. So the understanding there is leadership matters before God. Leadership is something that is godly. We really can't do much, not unless we understand the dynamics of leadership. Therefore, you need to train yourself how to lead. First, you lead yourself. Secondly, you lead others. By the time we speak corruption from the executive leadership level, it could be the person never led themselves the best way in the process of growth. But you need to understand that once you are at the level of leadership, probably God has put you into this space. However, I also have an understanding that in life there are dynamics such as hijacking things. We also believe that if God puts somebody in leadership, because God is power, we also believe that Satan also can put people in leadership. The mandate there is God transform lives and govern lives and lead people through people's leadership. That's why he needs to work on you before he can put you up there. However, if he puts you there, that means he can remove you if you are not doing what he exactly wants you to do. So during this process or during this time of elections, if as a church we don't rise and pray for God to be able or easily able to put those that he wants to put, we'll end up having Satan put those whom he wants to put for his own purpose. So our prayers matters. We pray and vote. Rather, we pray and vote. We don't vote and say nothing. We vote, we pray and vote. We activate the will of God for the nation by prayers. We demolish all powers that wants to hijack system for the destruction of human soul. We are here to say leadership matters. Politics are not anything that as church people we should separate ourselves from. We can relate well for as long as there is compliance as well as there's good, proper relationship. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome one of the best. I'll give him an opportunity to introduce himself the best way, but I call him Mr. Monde Ndlovu. He's a very wonderful, devoted citizen. I will allow him to tell you what he's doing. I got these questions. You will have to clear it up. When people saw the poster, they say, which party is BMF? And I say, it's not a party, but it is something that you need to know about. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you one of the best. He's a friend to me. He's a brother, Monde Ndlovu. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much, Apostle. Thank you very much for the invite. And good evening to your viewers as well. I look forward to the conversation and where we can add value to the discussion.
I like it, where we can add value. Now, my take is you can only add value only if you yourself have value. So I brought value to add value. You see? I would really love to tell people of your profile and what you stand for in this life, but I feel like I would probably short sell you. So I will just have to leave that to you. I've got the profile, it's quite rich, it's prominent, it's beautiful, it's so inspiring. And I can only say to viewers that this man is an MD. That means Managing Director. So tell us about that and the BMF. Is it a political party? What is it? What does it stand for?
No, thanks again, Apostle. I think on the first part that you mentioned, I'm really not one to introduce myself. It is the work of the host.
Yeah.
If the host doesn't want to do it, it's okay. I'm not going to do it. I don't think, as we're on this journey of leadership and creating value, I don't think it's, proper for us to oversell ourselves or what we do, but really talk about what is truly important in that space, what we're trying to achieve, what we are part of, what is the cause that we are about generally, what is the value system that we are upholding, what are the key principles that we are fostering, generally speaking, and then everything else becomes commentary, so to speak, and people can find out facts if they want about an individual. But you must know that we're all part and parcel of being created, recreating, reshaping, redirecting one thing or another, actively or not actively, or deliberately or not deliberately. We are all, every day as we're making our personal choices, it is either to build something or to break something. There's no middle ground in there. So that's why it's critical. I always like to remove myself and talk about the actual issues that are confronting us, and the rest is commentary. So the profile that you have is just commentary, because there is a starting point. There's an ecosystem behind that. I didn't just fall from the sky.
Wow, you didn't just fall from the sky.
I didn't fall from the sky.
Okay.
And I think it's also important as well in the conversation about how do we build leadership, that the tenets, the building blocks of leadership, even in the first 7 years of your life as a child, you're experimenting already with leadership practice, as we'd call it. When I was in the consulting space, we talk about leadership practice. You don't have to have a certification of leadership. So just because you are certified does not mean you're a leader. Just because you have a certificate that says Monde passed a master's with merit, that certification does not make you a leader. It ought to increase your toolkit. But we'll come back to that.
That's interesting.
So the BMF, yes, my current space now where I'm creating value is at the Black Management Forum. It is a 48-year-old professional organization. It is the second oldest black organization in the country in terms of it being formalized in terms of recognition. The oldest black professional organization is NAFCOC. NAFCOC stands for National African Federated Chamber of Commerce. The founders of NAFCOC, your late Dr. Richard Maponya,
Okay.
The recently late Dr. Sam Mutsonyane, who's also the founder of African Bank.
Okay.
So those luminaries,
African Bank, like
the bank itself, African Bank,
Okay.
as you know it today.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, over the years, there's been some issues with it, and then the Reserve Bank bought, I think it's about 50% or so.
Yeah.
Then other existing commercial banks also assisted with some of the acquisition to save the bank because it was going under. But it started with Dr. Sam Mutsonyane,
Okay.
who's also the founder of NAFCOC. Now the NAFCOC luminaries.
Okay.
Well,
Maybe before you go in,
Yeah.
because you see, this program is also about educating our people.
Sure.
What's NAFCOC?
So
People get to know NAFCOC.
So NAFCOC it started in the townships.
Okay.
So NAFCOC was about, and still is about, the development of black business
Okay.
in the townships.
Okay.
And creating black businesses. So even the concept of black chain, which is like your retail shops,
Yeah.
they were pushing those ideas, complete ownership of business, starting businesses from scratch, and that's what they were about in terms of those luminaries, and hence in wanting to really make a difference in the lives of black people, Dr. Sam Mutsonyane then said, we actually need our own bank as black people.
So there are people who think that way.
Yes.
So it's not even a sin, rather, from my space, for the lack of better word. It's not a sin to think bank, like owning a bank.
No, it's not. Okay. I think it's quite crucial when we start talking about the role of the church broadly, because I think, there's some lines that people may feel exist, but particularly with, and I'll come to BMF, particularly with these black organizations, they are black organizations, right? It's black people who thought about these things. It's black people who sat and conceptualized these things. And of course, not necessarily reinventing the wheel, because, I mean, you have Standard Bank that come in to say, I think we can do it cheaper, right? To have deposits, etc., and create value, and then loan out, then make sure there's a reserve in case, depositors want to take out their money. Those basic banking principles. Then ABSA may come and say, well, we think we can scale it up a bit better. Maybe we'll focus on, corporates in terms of business, in terms of retail banking, which is the other side of banking, the banking system. So the ability to adapt an idea and find its relevance in the country, in the black community. And again, it's an inspiring story with African Bank as well, in how Dr. Mutsonyane brought people together to raise the money, because there's regulatory requirements that come with starting a bank, etc. So, they did it. They did it under apartheid. They did it.
Wow.
The point is they did it.
It can be done.
And it can be done. And so I was on another platform and I was saying the same thing. And then they were and then they asked me to say, yeah, but maybe the conditions today of owning a black bank may be different. So, no, but their hardships were much worse. Yeah. So they were able to have the resolve to say, we can actually create something unique in the financial services space, in the banking in the banking industry specifically, for black people, and to serve the underbanked in the country. Wow. So it started during apartheid, and of course it had challenges further down, some of them quite significant, but the point is, they started it. So that's some of the work of the luminaries of NAFCOC that they were focusing on the development of black businesses. Wow. And then you have the Black Management Forum. Yeah. So
that's where you are an MD.
That's where I'm an MD.
So, ladies and gentlemen, my guest is not comfortable on giving the profile. As he navigate, I'll just get a chance and give the profile, because I have it. I need you to know what this man stands for. But as he navigates, let's just allow the flow and give him a chance. I'll still do that. I would love you to know what Monde stands for. And tell us, just go ahead with the BMF.
All right. So I see your insistence with this profile
Yeah,
issue.
profile is a big deal.
So
it's a big deal in life.
the Black Management Forum started. So the idea started in 1972 with the founder, Mr. Eric Mafuna, and they were then working in corporate or trying to get into corporate, and the issue of not many black people were in corporate at the time. So it was a question of how do we get into that space and really build our professions as black people. So it first started as an idea of a study group, let's get together. But when you listen to him talk about even how people looked at it as a study group when it started, he said no, it was much deeper than that. Right? It was not just coming together reading. And by the way, during that time, you were not allowed to be referred to as a black manager. Right?
Okay.
It was unlawful to be referred to as a black manager, which was the other problem as well. So you had very few of them moving into corporate or doing commercial degrees or other degrees, and then trying to get into that space. So and then in '76, the group gets bigger. We count our years from '76, and then legally 1981. So when we started, we wanted to develop what we call managerial leadership.
Okay.
And I'll come back to why we put those terms together. So develop managerial leadership, capacity, leadership development capacity, because not many black people are in the space of leadership and management in the country, and we want to own that space.
Yeah.
We want black people to get in there, to run companies, run big budgets, etc. So we want to develop and keep on developing, because we need a pipeline of leadership. By the way, so as that idea was populating in the country, especially around Gauteng at the time, there was an equivalent Afrikaans organization that was doing the same thing.
I see.
So they came to BMF. They said, "Hey guys, why don't you join us?" And the founder says, "No. We refused to be co-opted into another organization. Right? Yeah. Number two, we wanted to build something for black people. Okay. Number three, built by black sweat. Jesus. Number four, build a professional home for black people. And number five, for our children's children." Wow. So that is the base. That is what anchors the existence of the BMF, especially the first 10 years, 76 to around 85 or so, and we really want to get into that space, and so there was this notion. Remember when Joburg used to be Joburg, and the Carlton Hotel. Yeah. Right? There was this seminal statement called "Meet me at the Carlton," and by the way, the Carlton Hotel was the only place in the country where you could not be arrested as a black person if you were in that hotel.
You see, it's getting where I want it. Once there's black, there's white, and then that's politics. And as church, we come through. But now I'm bringing a different angle. Just bear with us. It's going to take you somewhere. Did you know about what you just said? I'm sure you didn't. And thank you for bringing it up. Yeah.
No problem. So we knew that. Even the idea of fronting, by the way. Today you have a lot of fronting, or even then tokenism, putting black people without power. Now, black people at that time, some of them started businesses and were part of things, but they couldn't be the face. So they even used white people to front for them, right, to be the face of the organization or the face of the idea, etc. So when people heard that seminal term, "Meet me at the Carlton," they knew what it meant, right? Wow. So we'll meet at a place where we cannot be, because that hotel was an international hotel. So there was always international people coming in and out of the Carlton Hotel, etc. And that was a place where some of these many ideas came from meeting together, thriving to meet together to talk about what's important as black professionals and black business people at large. So that's the first, the first 10 years. And then the second half, after the state of emergency, now dynamics in the country begin to change.
I see.
And as dynamics in the country begin to change, the new members that joined BMF would have joined maybe early 80s or so. They come into the space and they say, hold on a bit. Yes, you want to develop leadership, but your very existence, come to the political issue now, your very existence is a result of the social-political environment.
Okay.
Your creation is a result of what is happening in the environment.
Yeah.
So there's a fundamental problem with the environment which you operate in. So you say that you want to develop black leadership, but black leadership is being stunted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of room to grow. Right? So we've got to add another layer to our organization, and that's how we then added the advocacy piece, advocating for a new economic agenda in the country. So NAFCOG on one side was also pushing a particular thought process around transforming the country. BMF another on the other side, and there were others as well, really pushing ideas on transformation in the country. So we started to advocate a lot of the time, and President Mandela, when he was in prison, and listened to our leaders articulate. Because you see, what confused some people was that these guys were in corporate. So they were professionals, but they were articulating views that were seemingly political.
Yeah, yeah.
But so they were wearing corporate cloaks, yet as wearing corporate cloaks, they were able to articulate the problems with the political system as if it is not proper for a professional to be conscious about their environment.
I see.
So as they were professionals, it's not just about the profession, about being in corporate, having a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But you're not just any kind of leader, but you are what we call the BMF type leader, that you are there for a purpose. So you must begin to advocate for change.
Okay, hold on. Look, this thing is getting where we need it exactly. So tell me, because I see there's quite a lot of there's just quite a lot about BMF, and it's quite relevant. I think what it stands for is still relevant at this point in time, because I can tell you most young people, most of our people, like in this generation, we think politics is about tenders. It's about burning tires and stuff like that. So this education is quite key. That's the balance we are bringing, that you get to know things so you operate effectively. So even as you vote, don't just do it ignorantly. Understand what you are part of. You understand what you're doing when you really do that. And this background will assist you to really become a devoted citizen or somebody that really add value into this life and the generation and social life itself. So I promise to give you the profile. I'll quickly read it, and then I would really come back to Mr. Ndlovu to just answer one or two questions. The reason I insist to read this is because the spirit of honor amongst our people is really lacking. And when people are lifted and work hard to be where they are, they deserve to be honored. There's a book that says, once you find greatness in the community, you must learn how to treat greatness and preserve, because greatness comes as a seed. In a community where there's a great person, the possibility is there can be many more great people, only if this person is treated very well by just being honored. You see? The moment you don't recognize greatness, the minute you lose it, you would never become one yourself, because that's one of the spiritual or universal laws of becoming great. You need to know to honor the great. So reading this is to just honor him, because he's not, he said something, I don't know if I'll put it the right way he put it, but he did not just reign to be where he is. There's a process. He worked hard, and he became what it is. So Monde is the managing director of the Black Management Forum, which is what we call BMF. So it's answered. It's not a political party. It's not a political party. A professional organization that has been at the forefront of management, development, and transformation in South Africa. He is a former consultant at Outlier Leadership, formerly known as African Leadership Development, a boutique consulting firm in Johannesburg which specializes in organizational strategy and leadership development. He is the first and former head of thought leadership at BMF. He has served 2 board committees, you see, of the BMF before, right? The National Event Committee and the Editorial Committee. He also served on the BMF Policy and Research Exco Committee as the deputy chairperson, influencing the policy thinking. So I agree with him when he's saying it's not about the certificate, it's also about the practice. He is also a board trustee of the Ndlovu Legacy Trust, a trust formed by the Black Management Forum to preserve the legacy of Lord Ndlovu. Is this your father?
Yes,
I have a little bit history when it comes to who your father was. Okay. Yeah, one of my mentors really told me what he was. So we celebrate and honor the work he has done. So I see it's here. We salute. He serves as a non-executive board member of the PGA of South Africa, and he chairs the Transformation Committee. He has played a critical role in formulating the transformation strategy of the PGA and how it can impact the wide industry. Look, it's just quite a lot that this profile has, but we really honor you. So, Monde, tell me, because this stands for more like leadership. I hear the word leadership. Do you think there's a relationship between politics and leadership?
I think that, firstly, you know, in the country, when we say leadership, the first thing that some people think about is politics. But there's different leadership across. So there's leadership in politics.
Okay.
There's leadership in civil society.
Okay.
There's leadership in the religious sector.
Okay.
There's leadership in the business sector.
Yeah.
There's leadership everywhere. Right? So you have people that leading initiatives, that are developing ideas. They may not be on television.
Yeah.
And the reason why we are tempted to think that politics is leadership only is because it's always in front of our face.
Okay.
Right? So we are confronted with the poster, you're confronted with comments in the newspaper, you're confronted with what's happening on television, people sharing views of politicians, right? And then people then automatically think that what is in the main defines what leadership truly is. But in actual fact, it is only a minuscule of what leadership actually is. So that's the first point, that there's leadership in politics.
Okay.
There's leadership in different sectors of society. There's leadership in the street where you come from. But most importantly, there's leadership at home.
Okay.
So, in other words, there's structure at home. That also falls under the scope of management, because when you start talking structure, processes, that's more managerial. So what kind of structure is at home? Because the kind of leaders we're growing for tomorrow are coming from a particular background. And hence I said I did not fall from the sky, as an example.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I come from a particular family. I come from a particular home. being exposed to specific things, deliberately so. And the role that a father plays is crucial in the kind of leader you'll become as a man.
I hear you.
Right?
I hear
And that's a sore point for many black young men, because a lot of them don't grow up with their fathers. So that's another layer of leadership development in the country, which is critical, especially in the black in the black community. So I've been greatly privileged that I had a father who literally took me by the hand. And there's several stories of how he was imparting leadership principles, preparing me for leadership, even when I did not see it as such. But when I look back, I'm very grateful for those lessons. So just for our viewers to understand, leadership is very, very broad. It's not one thing. It's not this and that. It's quite an array of things that you also choose to lead. So you can choose to sit, right?
So it's a matter of choice.
You choose to lead, and when you choose to lead, you are choosing from a base of having reflected on what you want to change, because leadership generally is about change. Leadership fundamentally is about people.
Leadership generally is about change. Leadership is about people. I like that. Okay, because of time, I want you to address this. Currently, as a nation, do you think we are where we are? I mean, it's obvious, it's just before us that there's a lot of struggle. Things are really not where we think it's supposed to be. Do you think there's an issue with our leadership at the political arena? If there's an issue, what do you think should be done? Because change may not take place not unless certain issues are addressed. Because even as we pray, we also want and expect people to still practice leadership, you see? So it's a component of things that really brings about a success. I represent the prayer part because I'm a pastor, you understand that? And I have you talk of leadership. Of course, you touching the political side of things. So do you think that as much as you mentioned, is established, do you think there's a need for our political leaders to...
Right, let's go back to our political history. You have the African National Congress starting around 1912 or so for a particular purpose. So they had to organize around their particular purpose. It was not... So there is an intention behind it. It is we want the country to look a certain way. So how are we going to achieve that? Then they came together, and then the ANC was born, and many challenges throughout history, and then the breakaway, PAC, and all sorts of things. And even those splits are directly related to the definition of leadership and the cause, right? So when people move out of something, it's because they have a problem with the leadership as well. When people leave work in general, they don't leave because they don't like their job. They fundamentally leave because of the person that leads.
So the person who leads can be a problem to the culture of the environment.
Yes. So a lot of people who job hop, back in the 90s, it was called the yippie. Move from one place to another. Yes, it may be about finding yourself, but if there's wrong leadership style, the person you're reporting to, you may like your job, but the person, that's why I said leadership is about people. Now, with that, just brief history, from a political point of view, there was a cause. Africans in particular, black people in general, wanted to get involved in the politics, because the politics create the legislative environment, which then informs how the economy can develop, and then from there, how you can get involved in the productive side of things and run your life. So politics is critical because it establishes the rules of engagement.
The rules.
So the issue then, therefore, today, and there's such a mirage of issues right across, but fundamentally, what are we still trying to achieve? So it's been 30 years, and as you would know, that 30 years in literature represents a generation.
Yeah.
So we've had
yeah,
a generation of democracy.
It's like a calendar full of it.
The full calendar.
Yeah.
So we've got to take stock as to what have we achieved in this generation of democracy, and where do we want to take the country in the next 30 years, and what are some of the challenges. So, as an example, President Kgalema Motlanthe, out of that report in 2017, the high-level panel report, which was reviewing legislation, etc., and they made recommendations. One of the things that they highlight there as a key issue in the country is the issue of landlessness.
Yeah.
Yeah, my English data bind is up. But yeah, it's that issue.
Yeah.
That's one of the issues that is raised,
Yeah.
and we need to try and deal with that. My thinking on top of that is you got to look at the spatial issue, because it's a spatial issue that you're dealing with fundamentally. Historically, the way in which our townships were structured, that was deliberate. Even if you look at the roads, 2 lanes, one going in, one going out, and in most cases, one entrance. In all of our townships, that was deliberate, and also far from
And
the
do you
places of
perhaps
work.
want to highlight what was that all about?
Yeah.
Because one would just think that's an architectural kind of an approach, or there's people called town planners. Maybe it was just a good thing. Do you know anything about?
So that
What was the strategy around that?
So that thing, so number one, on average, black people are living over 40 kilometers away from work.
Yeah.
That's too far. Number two, it means you'd have less time with your children. It's very difficult to impart almost anything because you come back home late, you have to wake up early in the morning. So that was deliberate. If you look at the special issue in the suburbs,
Yeah.
there are many entrances. I mean, I grew up in Vosloorus, right? So even in Vosloorus, getting in, at least now, we've tried to open up the township. Look at Soweto as well.
Yeah.
The entrances, all of it was deliberate because they packed us in there. Work for 10 months away from home in the mines. Was developing, then only go home once a year or twice a year. Right? So that whole spatial issue is a serious challenge. That spatial issue. So I'm just raising just one major issue is that what achieve in the next 30 years. Then secondly, what kind of leadership is going to take us there?
Oh, that's powerful. We need to begin to wrap up. Because of time, there's just so much to cover, guys. We can't really cover everything through one session and stuff like that. But like I said, the whole aim of this podcast is to make sure that we get a background. When we get involved in these social, economical issues and political space, we need to understand. So we really need to get to know it the best way. Now, on Wednesday we are voting. It's a special holiday. It will be on the 29th of May. We are voting. And that's after 30 years, we're still voting. Your advice to somebody who's listening when it comes to voting?
We must not take it as a public holiday, but we must take it as a day. All right? It was paid for by the ultimate price. There's many people who died so that we're able to vote.
Sure.
No matter how hopeless we may feel, because even within South Africa, there's different layers of being South African. We experience South Africa differently. We're the most unequal society in the world, statistically. One of the highest unemployment rates in the world. So those stats, we define those stats.
Yeah.
But even in defining those statistics, it is incumbent on everyone to make a decision that you want to be a citizen of this country, that you must love this country, as Robert Sobukwe said, you must have a fervent love for the people of this country, and ensure that you take full responsibility as an individual for the future of the country, so that tomorrow the people who make decisions, at least you can say, I played a role in those who made a decision. But it doesn't end there, because even Parliament has got processes as a citizen. So there's still more education that must come in to say, beyond the ballot, you still have to be a citizen of this country.
Video, I would like to have our production team to bring it on board. So,
President Cyril Ramaphosa and his ANC government added another weapon of mass destruction to its arsenal: traditional marriage, the family, parental authority, and religious free speech when he signed the Hate Crimes Bill into law on the 9th of May. The purpose of the Prevention and Combating of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech Act is to silence citizens who oppose the ANC regime's ideological agenda. Speaking up against the state's assault on marriage, the family, the sexualization of children in schools, the erosion of parental authority, and religious free speech can now potentially get you prosecuted for a hate crime. Presumably, Ramaphosa signed the Hate Crimes Bill prior to the general elections on 29th of May under pressure from UN agencies, just in case the ANC loses its majority in Parliament. The Bible-believing church and Christians in general will be targeted by sexual rights radicals with malicious hate speech litigation for simply proclaiming the Bible's view on human sexuality. And while Ramaphosa ramps up his assault on faith, family and freedom, he has the audacity to seek the support of the church for an ANC victory at the polls on 29th May. Ramaphosa told a church in Gugulethu recently, and I quote, "The church is still with us. We feel it, we see it, we sense it, and we are grateful." Over the years, the church has never abandoned the ANC. It's been part of the ANC. It's been inside the ANC, around the ANC, and underneath the ANC, supporting it all the time, end quote. However, the ANC government has done everything in its power to malign and ostracize the Christian church. Who can forget the sham consultation the Department of Education hosted with religious leaders on comprehensive sexuality education in January 2020, where UNESCO-trained activists attacked and mocked concerned Christian leaders for their so-called ignorance, hypocrisy, and sexual abuse. The ANC formulated the gender-neutral single marriage bill that strips men and women of their legal definition of marriage to equate it with same-sex and transgender unions. The ancient God-given institution of marriage will be redefined in law to appease LGBTQ radicals. Religious marriage officers will be compelled to solemnize same-sex unions and transgender unions. The ANC regime has amended the Basic Education Laws Bill, the Bella Bill, to extend state control of education to grant corrupt education officials unwarranted authority to determine the language, admission, and sex education policies in schools to indoctrinate innocent children. The ANC amended the Sexual Offences Bill to decriminalize the entire sex industry in South Africa, to make pimps, brothel owners, and criminal syndicates legitimate business people. It ignored the South African Law Reform Commission's warnings that decriminalized prostitution will be disastrous for vulnerable women and children because of the high rates of poverty, unemployment, and sexual abuse in South Africa. These policies and rampant ANC corruption, theft, fraud, money laundering, and racketeering indicate the governing party is no friend of the Bible-believing church. The ANC partners with the church only when it can manipulate it for its own nefarious ends. Ramaphosa and his corrupt administration is ramping up its assault on faith, family, and freedom, even as we observe the annual International Day of Families on the 15th of May. The UN Universal Declaration on Human Rights declares, and I quote, "The family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state," end quote. Despite the South African government being a signatory to this UN document and therefore obligated to protect and preserve the natural family, it has aligned itself with global groups seeking the destruction of the family unit. The results of ANC anti-family policies over the past years are catastrophic. After 3 decades of ANC misrule, the family is devastated and children are the most affected victims. Teen pregnancies and teen abortions have skyrocketed in South Africa. Children often die of hunger in ANC-governed South Africa. Less than 35% of children live with both biological parents, while fatherless homes have contributed to soaring crime rates and massively increased dependence on state social welfare. UCT's Children Institute reports that more than 8 million children suffer from severe malnutrition in South Africa, while ANC cadres loot billions from state coffers with impunity. Sexual abuse and violence against women and children escalate alarmingly as the ANC legitimizes the sex slave industry. The majority of young people, many from broken and dysfunctional homes, are unemployed or unemployable. The ANC has dumbed down education and replaced it with sexual indoctrination. The future of the family looks bleak indeed under ANC misrule. As a result of family breakdown, almost half the population is now 100% dependent on state welfare. Consequently, any church aligned with the ANC to support its victory at the polls cannot rightly claim to be aligned with the head of the church, the Lord Jesus Christ. For what harmony has Christ with Belial? Or what fellowship has light with darkness, or good with evil? The scriptures ask. Ramaphosa and his ANC regime's satanic war on the family is a clear indication of their allegiance, and it's not the God of the Bible. You and I must declare our allegiance today. President Cyril Ramaphosa and his ANC government added another weapon of mass destruction to its arsenal.
Welcome back. I hope you captured one or two things. A disclaimer, we are not trying to discredit anybody, not even trying to campaign for anyone. We are only trying to educate our people so they make a proper decision as they participate in voting, as well as adding value of our community. This is what it's all about. We need to make decisions and participate in the whole process. Welcome. Maybe 2 or 3 questions from you. Any question that my guest and I can really attend to, please write on the comment. Our media team would make sure that we get to really get that. But as I wait for your nice few comments here, I see Elvis Kutazo saying greatness comes as a seed. That is true, my brother. That is true. I also see Efi Chabalala, and he says tuned in, passionate about leadership. Yes, leadership matters to God. And yeah, I just see a lot of you coming through, and you are here. We truly appreciate. I see Malurato wa Rengo. That's our PR. They say, my vote, my power. Looking forward to heading to the polls on the 29th of May. You can join her. Don't make it a dating or an outing day. My guest said it's an important day. I see a day you just have to wake up and go and vote. Ours is to prepare you as for how to make the proper decision as a devoted citizen that loves your country. Do you perhaps have a question? And write it on the comment. We'll be able to pick it up, and then we attend to that before we close. Yeah. I see J.S. Koza, that's a pastor right there. We welcome you, sir. Thank you so very much for joining us. Yeah. Right. Make it a point that we attend to that before we close. Because I don't see questions coming. And of course, I must acknowledge that these matters needs a lot of time. But with the little that we have shared with my guest, make it a standing point as for how you can really add value even as we face the new chapter of our nation. And this time around, let's face it with a better insight and better ground to stand on. I believe South Africa is a beautiful nation. It has actually beautiful people. We don't need to be ignorant. We need a vision. Where there's no vision, people perish. Pastors, churches that for everything that is actually taking place in our society. We also to make sure that this society become the best. It is our commitment to stay in as to for you to last long. You cannot do it without. And we are here to say, may this stand in the principles of God, because it is through God that we can let him go. I'm enjoying his insight. Mr. Monde, thank you for saying yes to this invitation and for making time to just educate our comes to what you stand for in relation to leadership and politics, because there's a relation. Church form part of the second. Other than that, I believe 3 episodes people will be ready to make the right decision and vote and make a difference.
Thank you very much, Apostle, for the invite. We greatly appreciate it and appreciate the time that you've given to us in terms of your platform. And we know that you'll do it. You'll bring others as well to share insight. And of course, I think ultimately at the heart of it, Christian environment. God is a leader.
Amen.
And he creates leaders.
I tell you.
And he expects leaders.
And
he expects us to be even at that highest level. So if you call yourself a Christian and you do not lead, you are denying your very faith, because God
can comment. So even after 50 years, when they come to this broadcast,
he creates leaders. He expects leaders. He expects accountability. Christian, yet you refuse to lead. You are denying the very faith which you stand.
Nature.
Their very nature. So Jesus. God expects us to be changed, conformed to this world, but be renewed by the transformed.
He say Christians are out to lead. So go and lead. Go and, because he's a leader. Thank you for coming through today. I want to appreciate my production team says there's a question, so I need to, let's attend to it before we go. All right? Before we go. But otherwise, help us to, okay. What is the future of leadership is SA politics and business? That comes to you.
So basically, what are the prospects of the future in terms of leadership in the country? Like I said, 30 years is a generation. So in other words, there's a new generation that has a particular view of politics and business, and we must still ensure that there is leadership in both areas. At the heart of that is capacity building. So you've got to build capacity for leadership and management at the same time. You don't just wake up and then you've got to grow your toolkit. You must have a basket of tools. That's why we go to school, to sharpen our skills, our abilities to do so. So the future is as bright as our willingness to prepare for it.
Jesus.
That's how we answer that question.
Wow, that's powerful. I think let's just take that as our closure. Otherwise, I want to appreciate every one of you for coming through in numbers. This was our last episode. We're coming back to address other issues of the community. The aim is to make sure that we develop, as Mr. Monde stated that. That means there will be no change, not unless we are intentional around this whole thing. It starts with identifying, and then you develop, and then you dispatch, you see. So we are all about that. Otherwise, thank you for being the best audience, the best viewers, the best team, the best fans, the best whatever. And allow me to also appreciate my media team, our production team. You guys made us look very well, and our team at large, and we just want to appreciate your effort into making a difference when it comes to this production and program. Thank you so much. Wednesday, siyavota. Bazalwane, just go and occupy until he comes. Thank you. May the good Lord bless you. Amen.